Off Limits is the money podcast that blows up stereotypes, showing you that managing money doesn't have to be hard.
We want you to thrive, not only with your money, but in every part of your life.
What you will get out of this podcast is real, relatable, and relevant tips and strategies that you can apply today. Hi, I'm Donald Raymond, and this is
Christine Spiak. We are money coaches, business owners, and colleagues who are passionate about helping you become more of who you are. So if you're ready, join us.
How much money do we have? How much of that money could be used toward potentially a mortgage payment? You know, obviously the best advice is pay cash for your home. How many people are going to be able to do that, especially with their first home? I'm not going to say it's impossible. It would take a tremendous amount of planning and effort to make sure that that happened. But knowing where you are is going to give you some parameters, right? These are boundaries. These are healthy boundaries. And beyond that, we want to know what our goals are as a homeowner, right? So take a little bit of time and establish, if you're single, do this for yourself, right? What are your goals? But then you want to have those trusted partners. So if you're in a relationship, this is easy, right? Talk it over with your spouse. Put a list together. What kind of home? How much space? What location? What's your job situation look like? What does your family dynamic look like? How are you going to use the home? These are all questions you want to answer. And so putting all of that together, you can then establish what we are going to call a realistic budget, right? And that can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But if we take our goals and our finances, our available resources, then we can create something that could be described as a realistic budget. And that's going to look, like I said, a little bit different for everybody. Christine, as you're talking to your clients, you know, and you're having some of this conversation, maybe they already own a home, right? So this is not just for the first-time home buyer. They're already in a home. Maybe they're looking at relocating and moving, buying a new home, upgrading, downgrading, or maybe they just don't think their home is a good investment. Maybe they bought it wrong, or maybe that comes out of the conversation. What kinds of structure and parameters and conversation are you having around that topic?
Well, certainly if they're a first-time home buyer, it's more than the home itself, but how they're going to use it, more than where is it going to be, what do they foresee their family needing it for?
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times we think about the structure, but maybe not necessarily how our family dynamic is going to grow or change, where we are now, where we think we're headed, even if we're single or married or with a partner that we're buying the home with. I know for my husband and I, when we bought our first home, he and I were both working, but we knew that we would be starting a family soon. And I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. We both wanted that for our family. So we intentionally bought a home that we knew we would be able to afford on his income. So having that complete conversation will really help guide your decision. Because when you start looking and the realtor starts showing you, maybe this is a little outside of your price point, but we really wanted to show you because it's a great value, or however, whatever spin they're putting on it, you have to be able to go back to, what do we really need? What do we want? What's a nice to have? What's a must have? And if that's clearly defined at the onset, then it's a lot easier to just go through these homes and go through the process with, yes, this checks the box, or no, it doesn't. Instead of, wow, I love this. I love the pool. I love the neighborhood. I love the home. I love the kitchen. I really want it. Instead of falling into that trap.
So I think we're going to talk a little bit, two things that stuck out, and then a third that I think we're going to go into later was what you were just describing. You know, you walk into a nice new home that's been staged. Maybe it's a new construction or new remodel, and it's just that wow factor, right? The realtor's selling it, and so you really do. You get that those rose-colored glasses, right? And all of a sudden, you just have to have it because you didn't know something this good could exist, you know. And it's always that first experience. You're going to have good experiences when you go house shopping, right? When you start doing open houses and looking around and testing the waters and the market. But you definitely want to have your guard up too. You don't want to allow yourself to fall into that trap. You know, it's you will fall into buyer's remorse if you do that, and that's okay when you're at the retail store. But when you're buying a home, you do not want that to be your story.
Absolutely. So now,
but you said two other things that I really just thought were super valuable, and I don't want us to get past them too fast. One of those things had to do with setting the goals, right, and having those parameters and those boundaries. And the way you framed it up, I think was perfect. You said wants versus needs. I think and you may not have used those words, but that's what I heard. I heard wants versus needs. And so thinking about the now, but also trying to think about the future. how many times do you want to have to, move in and out of a home, working your way up to the home that you eventually need versus taking your time, maybe renting for a while, figuring out what your needs are now. And if a rental makes sense, then you can potentially skip the first turnover, the first home that you would have bought just because you had a financial constraint. But you actually needed a home that would meet your family dynamics needs and how you're going to live in that home better, and actually be better off financially, right? So you just want to, I'm not saying that that's going to be everybody's story, but I do think it's worth the conversation, right? You owe it to yourself to have that part of the conversation. So absolutely, as the other piece in that same context of wants versus needs was when you said the realtor is going to tell you all the reasons why you can afford just a little bit more. And this is not a knock on realtors. This is their job, right? They deal with buyers every single day. They know what the markets are allowing. They know the way mortgages are being structured. And so they're going to weigh in on that, right? They are going to offer their opinion. But at the end of the day, this is your purchase. It's your home. You're the ones that are going to live there, and it's your money.
Exactly.
So this is not the realtor's money. It is not the realtor's decision. The job of the realtor is just to expose you to, hopefully, some available properties that meet those needs and those goals. So stick to your guns, right? Have the list. Go look at some properties that you can't afford and let yourself respond that way. Walk into a $200 million home and say, this is way out of my league. This is beautiful, but I cannot afford this, and just train yourself to say no. Yeah. Then go look at some more reasonable properties, and maybe you'll be in a little better headspace to be able to take it on. So we're going to dive into, open houses and going out and house shopping a little bit later. But what's next on our, as we're
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Off Limits.
Beyond the podcast, we are money coaches who want to help you.
So if you are looking for help managing your money, use the links in the description below to contact either of us and learn how coaching can help you thrive.
Lastly, please help us to spread the word by subscribing, leaving a comment, and sharing our podcast with your friends and family.